Dana Braja Janaranjana Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Shri Sakhi Vrinda ki Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Ajopi Sannavyayatma
Ajopi sannavyayatma
Bhutanamishvaropi san
bhutanamishvaropi san
Prakritim Swamadhisthaya
prakritim svamadhisthaya
Sambhavamyatmamayaya
sambhavamyatmamayaya
Ajopi Sannavyayatma
Ajopi sannavyayatma
Bhutanamishvaropi san
bhutanamishvaropi san
Prakritim Swamadhisthaya
prakritim svamadhisthaya
Sambhavamyatmamayaya
sambhavamyatmamayaya
Ajopi Sannavyayatma
Ajopi sannavyayatma
Bhutanamishvaropi san
bhutanamishvaropi san
Prakritim Swamadhisthaya
prakritim svamadhisthaya
Sambhavamyatmamayaya
sambhavatmamayaya
Anyone like to chant?
ajopi sannavyayatma
Ajopi Sannavyayatma
bhutanamishvaropi san
Bhutanamishvaropi san
prakritim svam adhisthaya
Prakritim Swamadhisthaya
sambhavamyatmamayaya
Sambhavamyatmamayaya
Ajopi Sannabhayatma.
Ajopi
ajopi sannavyayatma
Sannavyayatma
Bhutanamishvara Opi San.
bhutanamishvaropi san
Bhutanamishvaropi san
Prakritim Samadhisthaya.
Prakritim
prakritim svamadhisthaya
Swamadhisthaya
Sambhavamatmamayaya.
sambhavamyatmamayaya
Sambhavamyatmamayaya. Okay.
Ajopi sannavyayatma
Ajopi
ajopi
Sannavyayatma
sannavyayatma
bhutanamishvaropi san
bhutanamishvaropi san
Bhutanamishvaropi san
prakritim svamadhisthaya
Prakritim
prakritim svamadhisthaya
Swamadhisthaya
Sambhavamyatmamaya.
Sambhavamyatmamaya. Okay, synonyms. Ajaha,
Ajaha,
unborn.
Jaha.
unborn.
Unborn.
Api,
Api,
Api.
although.
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 Son,
Son,
being so.
being so.
Avyaya,
Avyaya,
without deterioration.
without deterioration.
deterioration.
Atma,
Atma,
Atma.
body.
body.
Bhutanam,
Bhutanam,
of all those who are born.
of all those who are
born.
born.
Ishvaraha,
Ishvaraha,
the Supreme Lord.
the
The
Supreme
Supreme
Lord.
Lord.
Api,
Api,
Api.
although.
although.
Son,
Son,
being so.
being so.
Prakritim,
Prakritim,
Prakriti.
in the transcendental form.
in the transcendental form.
form.
Swam,
Eva,
Va.
of myself.
of myself.
Of myself.
Adhisthaya,
Adhisthaya,
being so situated.
being so situated.
Situated.
Sambhavami,
Sambhavami,
Sambhavami.
I do incarnate.
I do incarnate.
Atma Mayaya,
Atma Mayaya,
by my internal energy.
by my
By
internal
my internal
energy.
energy.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. So it's a big purport without a paragraph break. Probably they could add a paragraph break in this one. Let me try to put a break and we can have devotees read it. All right. It's too big for a paragraph. Okay. Let's see. There are a few things here Prabhupada talks about. Okay. That's a good place to break. Okay. Right. Would anyone like to read the
I
first
can.
part? Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, please.
Shall I start, Prabhu?
Yes.
The Lord has spoken about the peculiarity of his birth. Although he may appear like an ordinary person, he remembers everything of his many, many past births. Whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few hours before. If someone is asked what he did exactly at the same time one day earlier, it would be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He would surely have to dredge his memory to recall what he was doing exactly at the same time one day before. And yet, men often dare claim to be God or Krishna. One should not mislead by such meaningless claims. Then again, the Lord explains his Prakriti or his form. Prakriti means nature as well as Sarupa or one's own form. The Lord says that he appears in his own body. He does not change his body, as a common living entity changes from one body to another. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in the present birth, but he has a different body in the next birth. In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body but transmigrate from one body to another. The Lord, however, does not do so. Whenever he appears and is the Lord of the universe, it still appears that he takes his birth like an ordinary living entity. And although his body does not deteriorate like a material body, it still appears that Lord Krishna grows from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to youth. But astonishingly enough, he never ages beyond youth. At the time of the Battle of Kurukshetra, he had many grandchildren at home. Or in the word, he had sufficiently aged by middle calculation. Still, he looked just like a young man, 20 or 25-year-old. We never see a picture of Krishna in old age because he never grow old like us, although he's the oldest person in the whole creation, past, present, and future. Neither his body nor his intelligence, even deteriorates, or changes. Therefore, it is clear that in spite of his being in the material world, he is the same unborn, eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Would anyone like to read the next part, please?
I can.
Okay, Sarvati. Go ahead.
Factually, his appearance and disappearance are like the sun's rising, moving before us, and then disappearing from our eyesight. When the sun is out of sight, we think that the sun has set. And when the sun is before our eyes, we think that the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in its fixed position, but owing to our defective, insufficient senses, we calculate the appearance and disappearance of the sun in the sky. And because Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are completely different from that of any ordinary common living entity, it is evident that he is eternal, blissful knowledge by his internal potency, and he is never contaminated by material nature. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unborn, yet he still appears to take his birth in multi-manifestations. The Vedic supplementary literatures also confirm that even though the Lord appears to be taking his birth, he is still without change of body. In the Bhagavatam, he appears before his mother as Narayana, with 4 hands and decorations of the 6 kinds of full opulences. His appearance in his original eternal form is his causeless mercy, bestowed upon the living entities so that they can concentrate on the Supreme Lord as he is, and not on mental concoctions or imaginations, which the impersonalist wrongly thinks the Lord's forms to be. The word Maya or Atma Maya refers to the Lord's causeless mercy, according to the Vishvakosha dictionary. The Lord is conscious of all of his previous appearances and disappearances, but a common living entity forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he is on this earth. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and self, or between his quality and body. A question may now be raised as to why the Lord appears and disappears in this world. This is explained in the next verse.
Thank you. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramanandamadhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanyamishwaram Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And does anyone know the title of this chapter?
Transcendental knowledge.
Yes, transcendental knowledge, also called Jnana Yoga. So in the 3rd chapter, we have seen Karma Yoga. And this chapter is Jnana Yoga. Of course, in the third chapter, the emphasis is action without expecting the fruit of the action, without being attached to the fruit of the action. And Acharyas give a name for it. They call it as Nishkama Karma. Doing this Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, activity without any karma attachment. And if that is properly performed, it actually leads to knowledge, jnana. When we do our activities without being attached, it invokes within us, it will make this knowledge manifest, Atma Jnana, knowledge of the self manifest. So Arjuna has asked a question in the third chapter, after Krishna has explained the Karma Yoga section, because in the second chapter, Arjuna was confused, therefore he asked, Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tatkim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. Why are you engaging me in this ghastly warfare if you think Buddhi Yoga is superior to karma? So then Krishna explained that no, you must engage in activity. However, it has to be done without attachment, and it has to be done for Mayi Sarvani Karmani Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa. So he explained various things, and he also said it is better to do one's activity than someone else's. Better to do your duty than someone else's duty. Paradharmo bhayavaha. It's actually dangerous to do someone else's duty, and there's no need to repress. You have to act according to your nature and do it and sacrifice your results. So this was the theme. And then Arjuna asked an important question. What was that? And after that question, there was no more questions by Arjuna. Krishna is continuing. Does anyone remember why Krishna entered into this Jnana Yoga section?
Was it that he said, how did you instruct this knowledge to the sun god?
Yeah, that's good, Sugopi. That's a good one. But Krishna started this even before, though. Krishna started explaining this knowledge even before Arjuna asked that question. What you said is also right, actually. I misspoke that he didn't ask any questions. He did ask, what I meant was from karma to jnana, the switch happened. There was one question that made this switch. So after Krishna has told it is better to perform one's duties, even faultily. It is better to do our action, even faultily, than try to do someone else's activity. So Arjuna is a Kshatriya here. He wanted to be like a Brahmana or even a sannyasi prematurely. So Krishna is encouraging him to do his duty. So, but there is something else. Arjuna wanted to know, okay, if activity must be done and it has to be done according to the religious principles. But we see that sometimes people, they perform sinful activities. And not only just they perform sinful activities, but they unwillingly perform sinful activities. It's not that they want to do it. They a lot of times, right? We also have this habit, I don't want to do this, but then we end up doing that. Maybe we don't want to eat something, but then we end up eating it. So Arjuna asks, Atakhena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichannapi varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. As if by force we are engaged in something. And what is it that will make somebody do that? And what was Krishna's answer?
Kamayasha Krodesha.
Yes, Rajoguna Samudbhava, Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyena Mihavairina. Kama Esha, Krodha Esha. The lust and anger. Lust is born out of mode of passion, and anger is mode of ignorance. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna Samudbhava. These two are the greatest enemies. All devouring enemies, not just enemy, but it devours us. The more we let that enemy come into us, the more it will just swallow us. And this is the reason why desires are never fulfilled. In the Mahabharata, it is said, even one possesses the entire planet, he will not be satisfied. You feed everything available on the planet to a single person, still he will not be satisfied. This is the nature of the lust. Therefore, this is all devouring. So then Krishna explains that, and you have to be very intelligent. How do you capture this lust? Where does this exist? It exists in, where does lust exist? Mind, intelligence, and the senses. Indriyani manobuddhir asya adhisthana muchyate. Indriya manobuddhi. And out of all these things, the first, they are progressively more powerful. Indriyas are actually powerful. The senses are pushing us to do certain things. But powerful than the senses is the mind. Powerful than the mind is intelligence. Powerful than the intelligence is the soul. So in terms of controlling, it's easy to control the senses first, than the mind, than the intelligence. So therefore, we try to protect our senses from being engaged in the sense objects is the first step. Don't watch bad things with the eyes on the television. Don't hear things that are not good. So it's easy to stop them at that level. And that is the first practice we try to do, is be careful in our association and all these things. But however, the mind is very difficult to control. That's because that's more powerful. And then the crooked intelligence, because it will give ammunition to the mind and senses to go engage in these activities. So Krishna explains these things, but then how do you control these things? What method did he give to control?
To control your senses first.
Yes, that's what he said. But eventually, he gives a weapon with which we have to control.
Detachment.
Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
What did you say? Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Yes, that's where we will end up. That's also a good one. Yeah. So if you see the last verse, Srila Prabhupada's translation, thus knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should study the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. So you have to conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust by proper intelligence, this formidable enemy. And now he'll give that secret method by which the intelligence can be buddhi, can be properly applied, because buddhi is superior to all of these things. So how to cultivate jnana yoga, and through that process we can jahishatrum mahabahu, by this deliberating through spiritual intelligence, by evam buddha, and empowering this intelligence by taking the knowledge that Krishna is going to explain in chapter number 4. And then when he started explaining what happened, Arjuna, Krishna said, I gave this knowledge to sun god Vivaswan in the past. And what was Arjuna's complain that when Krishna said he will do it, Arjuna had a question. He wasn't satisfied just by hearing that. What did he ask?
He said,
How
how
could-
can I understand that you gave this knowledge to the sun god since we're both the same age, basically?
So how is that question relevant? Why could he have not given to sun god? Because Krishna is about 100 years old. Maybe he gave it 80 years back. Any thoughts?
Isn't the sun god much older than that?
I mean, we can talk to somebody who is older. Sun god is still there. He could have. Anyone else? Somebody was
What is the
saying.
question, Prabhu? I just missed.
But Krishna,
When Arjuna asked Krishna, how should I understand that you spoke to sun god because he's older to you? But we do speak to somebody who is older to us. I mean, it happens all the time.
Because he was, I don't know, I'm attempting, because he was considering him as his cousin and he's at the same age as Arjuna is. And the sun god is millions of year old. So that's what.
But I said that he said the sun god is still there, so he could have spoken. But I'm thinking the sun god spoke to Ikshvaku, it says, right? I mean, and Ikshvaku, his forefather, is no longer present.
Good points, right? So Krishna is not just saying, I told somebody. He said, I gave it to sun god, and then it came in a disciplic succession, and many saintly kings learnt about it in the disciplic succession, and eventually the disciplic succession is also lost. This is not something that happens in 100-year time frame. So Krishna is not just saying, right, I gave to sun god, right? But he's saying, imam vivaspate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manurikshvakava bravit. What's the next one? Manu and Ikshvaku, yes. So sun god Vivasvan gave it to Vaivasvata Manu and he gave it to Ikshvaku. And then evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu. That's plural. So in Sanskrit, plural means not one, not two, it's many. In Sanskrit, there is singular, dual, and plural. Imam rajarshayo viduhu. So that indicates multiple. So that means 6, 7. When you talk about a parampara, it's like a generational parampara. So now you are talking such a lineage, and not only that, you are saying eventually sakalena mahato yoga nashta parantapa. And how much time does it take to something to even disappear? And therefore, I am establishing this again. So all this doesn't just indicate that in this lifetime. So it means it was previously given because of all these things. So therefore, he asked that question. And then Krishna has spoken. What did he say in the previous verse, yesterday's verse?
Was it Janma Karma Chame Divya?
No,
I
Bahuni
think-
mein.
Yeah, I think he says, I and you have taken lot of birth. You don't remember, but I remember, since I think
Yes.
Arjuna is a Jiva.
Yes. So this is what Krishna says, right? So Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tava charjuna. Many lifetimes have passed for you and I. Tanyaham veda sarvani. Is that how he says? I remember all of them. Tanyaham veda sarvani. But natvam vetta parantapa. You don't know them. I know all of those, but you don't. So now Krishna is making a distinction between Arjuna and himself. That Krishna knows, but Arjuna doesn't. But why? What is special about Krishna? That he knows and Arjuna doesn't. And that is the today's verse. Is why is it that Krishna knows and Arjuna doesn't. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavam maya. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he first talks about this concept of remembering. How much do we remember? It's very hard to remember things. And the more and more our memory power is decreasing. Memory is a function of what?
The mind.
Anyone else?
Brain, mind, same.
Okay, they're not same.
Intelligence.
Okay. Intelligence. Memory is the function of intelligence. And then we can say the intelligence, still our intelligence is not so powerful to, human intelligence is not so powerful to keep track of everything. It is very limited. It cannot even keep track of everything for this particular lifetime. And as we become old, there are two kinds of memory according to modern science. This is not Shastra. Maybe somewhere in the Shastra, I don't know. There's something called long-term memory and short-term memory. As we become old, one of these becomes weak. Which one?
Short term.
Yeah, short-term memory. That's why in the old days, they may remember their childhood activities, but they forget the things that have happened, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. They may even forget their own children, but they may remember something much earlier things. So memory is not something so easy. Our intelligence, this is very, very limited. It's very hard to remember anything properly. So now Prabhupada is saying, in spite of this situation, some people claim that they are God. That they are God. He says, if someone asks, what did he exactly do at the same time one day earlier, it's very hard. We have to dredge our memory to get it. And yet Prabhupada says people, men often dare claim to be God or Krishna. God is not something somebody becomes. When Srila Prabhupada, I'm trying to remember Maharaj's name, Maharaj who was in Juhu.
Giriraj Maharaj.
Yes, Giriraj Swami. He had this Mayavadi idea that I am God. And Prabhupada asked him, if you were God, why are you not God now? I forgot. I forgot that I am God. And therefore, I have to now realize that I am God. Does Krishna say here that he forgets? He's saying, I remember everything. But the Mayavada philosophy says, you are God, but you forgot. So therefore, now you meditate. Tattvamasi. Aham Brahmasi. Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi. You are that, you are that, you are that, you are God, you are God. And one day you remember that you are God. So this is a crazy idea, crazy philosophy. How can you, if you are God, how can you forget? Krishna is standing here in front of Arjuna and saying, I remember everything. Tanyaham Veda Sarvani, everything I remember. A person who forgets and tries to remember and then realize, how can he be God? Krishna on day one, he was ready as God. And he killed Putana when he was what, 2 days old, 3 days old? He killed Putana. He didn't go and sit under a tree and meditate for many years, and then he grew some beard, and then one day he realized he's God and he became powerful and he started doing something. Right at the beginning, he showed his power. This is Krishna. So this ability to remember is there in God, everything, but a living entity cannot. Now, Krishna is also known as Aja. What does the word Aja mean?
Unborn.
Unborn. The Sanskrit verb Ja, it means to take birth. So Aja means no birth. Now Krishna is Aja. Are living entities, are we Aja?
No.
Somebody said no. Any other votes? Are as living entities, are we Aja? Or is only Krishna Aja?
If the soul is eternal, I think we could be Aja too.
Yeah, the living entities, we are also Aja. Where does Krishna say we are Aja? Does anyone remember?
Ajo nityam shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamani sharire.
Yes, right?
I forgot I'm the soul, Prabhu.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्य शाश्वतोयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. Krishna talked about Aja concept already in second chapter. The soul is eternal, but the body is temporal. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. When the body is destroyed, the soul is not destroyed. The soul is Aja, unborn, Nitya. It's always there. It's Shashvata, eternal. Purana, it's very old. So now, if Krishna is Aja and we are Aja, then what is the difference? Why did Arjuna not remember and Krishna remembers? What is the difference? One is we can say, okay, Arjuna is a living entity and Krishna is the Supreme Lord.
We are same quality, but not the quantity.
Okay, we are same in quality, but not in quantity. Okay.
And Jiva takes the different bodies in every birth. So, I mean,
Yes, so the living entity is taking different births, but the Lord is
Krishna
not.
remembers all his births, but Arjuna doesn't remember his birth.
Yes, but there is also difference in Krishna's birth and Arjuna's birth. Of course, Arjuna is representing a living entity. Arjuna is also a liberated soul. So let's put ourselves in the position of Arjuna. And the reason why Arjuna doesn't remember and Krishna remembers is when the Supreme Lord comes, he says, Prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atmamayaya. Ajopi san avyayatma. Let's talk about this word also. Avyaya atma. The word atma, what does it mean?
The soul.
Soul, okay. What else?
It can mean the self too sometimes.
Self. What does self mean?
Mind.
I think the self.
Somebody said mind. Yes, mind is correct.
For Krishna, I think self is a nice word because
I
it
see for
doesn't
Krishna
make
you
a
are saying.
distinction between the soul and the body, because Krishna's body and Krishna's soul are like the same thing because he's completely transcendental.
Yes, good point. So for Krishna, we cannot. But in general, the word mind, Atma, has many meanings. There's a beautiful verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:7-10. Atma ramascha munayo nirgranthaapyurukrame kuruvantya haitukim bhaktim ittam bhuta guno harihi. Very famous verse. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, they were both discussing the Vedanta Sutras. And in that conversation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asks, Sarvabhauma, explain the meaning of this verse. And Sargama Bhattacharya explains, I forgot, in 9 different ways or something. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains in many ways. Each word he takes and how many meanings you have, he describes. And Lord Chaitanya gives 7 meanings according to Amarakosha dictionary. 7 meanings of the word Atma. It could mean Brahma, means the spirit. It could mean Deha. Deha means what?
Body.
Yes, Deha means body. And somebody also said Manas, mind. What else? So we got 3. Brahma,
And
Deha, Manas.
Self-consciousness.
What does that? Okay,
You are
consciousness.
conscious about yourself. That's also Atma.
Okay, but that's more of a knowledge than an entity. But it's a function of something. It's a function of the soul to be conscious. Also, buddhi, intelligence. Intelligence also is one of the functions. In fact, actually in the previous chapter, Evam buddhe param buddha, is that the verse towards the end, Krishna has said that you have to control the mind by intelligence. Does anyone remember that? Krishna, he said one should control their mind by intelligence. Atmana Atma, he says something like that. So we have to, yes, in the same verse we were talking about. Evam buddhe param buddha samstabhyatmanam atmana jahishatru mahabahu. Atmanam atmana. So you have to control the Atma by Atma. What does that mean, controlling Atma by Atma? Means control the mind by intelligence. So Atma could mean the spirit soul, the body, the mind, the intelligence, and there are a few more meanings. One is Swabhava. Swabhava means a person's nature. And also Dhriti, determination. And there's also one more, which is our endeavors, Yatana or Yatna. These are all the meanings given in Amarakosha for the word Atma. But when Krishna is saying, Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san, he is describing himself as Avyaya Atma. So the mind, the intelligence, if we think it is the mind, if we think the intelligence, if we think it is the body, generally, this is what the identity we're talking about, then these are destructible. The Deha will go away, it will be destroyed. And the mind is actually active even when we are sleeping. But when we are in deep sleep, the mind is not active. However, when we are in deep sleep, the intelligence is active. We know intelligence is active because when we wake up, we remember the previous and we immediately reconstruct. Intelligence reconstructs everything. You get up in the morning, we reconstruct what is it that I was doing yesterday and everything. Who am I? What's my job? What project I'm doing? And these all will come back up. It is said that in the deep sleep also intelligence remains. But Krishna's intelligence here is Krishna's memory spanning across lifetimes here. So that means Krishna is talking about his own spirit soul, which is carrying all these things. Not the material body, not the material mind, not the material intelligence, but as Avyayatma, as the unborn, he is the spirit soul, and his mind, intelligence, and everything is avyaya. So therefore, his body and the mind are the same. And then there is another one mentioned, Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya. Now this word Prakriti, I think Srila Prabhupada in the purport mentioned the meaning of the word Prakriti. He's saying, then again the Lord explains his Prakriti or his form. Now this Prakriti also has three meanings, Samsiddhi, Swarupa, Swabhava, according to Sanskrit dictionary.
He
So,
is the Paramatma. Paramatma.
yeah, Paramatma, yes. So here we are talking about Prabhupada in the purport. Then again the Lord explains his Prakriti, Prakritim Swamadhishtaya, Swaprakriti. What is this word Prakriti? So Prakriti can mean Swabhava, nature, or Swarupa, his own form. So he's coming in his own form. Now if you take the meaning as nature, then he's saying Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya, my own personal nature. Now you can say, well, can that be the material energy? He's accepting material energy and coming to this world. That doesn't make sense. Because he is in the spiritual world and his true nature is the spiritual nature. And this Prakriti material world is inferior nature. He talks about that later in the 7th chapter. So Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya. This is not that destructive type of material nature, which is temporary. He already said Aja, unborn. He already said Avyayatma. Then Swam Prakriti, the reason the word Swam is indicating that this Prakriti is his divine spiritual nature. And Prakriti also means Swarupa, form. So therefore Srila Prabhupada here is taking the meaning form. I'm only explaining the Swabhava just for the sake of argument. But the right meaning here, Srila Prabhupada is takes is, and my transcendental body never deteriorates. I still appear in my original transcendental form. Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya. So that means I am coming in my own spiritual form without this Vyaya mind, Vyaya intelligence, Vyaya Deha, which will be destroyed at some point. The material body will be destroyed after we die. But the mind, intelligence, ego, they lose their power, but they continue into the next life. Therefore, a little bit of imprints of samskaras are there. Actually, the senses also, there are subtle senses. They will also come into the next body. They come with particular type of senses also. The body will go, the mind, intelligence, and the senses, they go into the next body with impressions of the previous lives. Not full memory, but some impressions will be there. So Krishna has none of these. Excuse me, someone saying something?
And also he said that because he was born as a human body, that he has to go through everything, all the things that has some of the things that human beings do.
So actually he did not have a human body, a human-like body he has.
Yes. Yes.
Human-like. That means in the Shastras also it is said Naraha Narayana Akriti, something like that.
Yeah.
The living being has the form of as the form. So in Bible also it says man is made in the image of God. It looks like that, but it is not the human being that this material human being, that's not what it is. It looks like that. It looks like that. So Krishna is actually spirit soul. When Krishna comes, what we are seeing is a Satchidananda form. What we are seeing is the form of the spirit. So Krishna's body, Krishna's mind, Krishna's intelligence, this is all what we are seeing is completely spiritual. It is not material at all. It is not made of the three material modes. When we say the material Prakriti, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and the Panchabhutas, these are all coming from the Prakriti, from the inferior Prakriti. But Krishna's form is made of Swaprakriti, Prakritim Swam, means the spiritual body. Is coming in a spiritual body. So this is the most important thing that we need to understand from this verse, that Krishna has no material body made of material elements. What he has is a spiritual body. Then why is he coming? Okay, another thing also about something special about this body that Prabhupada talks about is when Krishna appeared, he came in a four-handed form first to convince Mother Devaki and Vasudeva that because in the previous life they have prayed that you be our son. So for 3 lifetimes he has agreed to be their son. So in order to fulfill that, to remind them that the Supreme Lord Narayana has come, because if he came just like his original form of Krishna, they may not identify because it looks like everybody else around them. So when he came in that form, but however, Devaki, because of motherly affection, oh, Kamsa will recognize you because you have 4 hands and you came with all these things. Kamsa will recognize. Therefore, please become like a normal human child. But actually then what he converted into, it was actually the original form of Krishna. The 2-handed original form of Krishna, which is the source of everything. And not only that, think of Krishna's birth. The way we take birth is karmana daiva netrena jantur deho upapattate. We appear because of karma and daiva netra, because of our karma and because of the judgment given by the higher authorities, daiva netra, we get a particular type of body. We don't get to choose. But Krishna chooses when to come, where to come, who are his parents and all these things. And it is not a seminal birth that Krishna had. Krishna first appeared in the heart of Vasudeva. And when Krishna came into the mind of Vasudeva, he became so powerful and effulgent. You could see Krishna's presence within his heart. And then from his mind, he initiated Devaki in that love of Krishna. When he was feeling so much bliss and love of Krishna, Krishna appeared within himself. Then he instructed Devaki. And then Krishna went into the heart of Devaki. And from the heart of Devaki, he entered into the womb of Devaki. There was no physical, as in the material world, it is not like that. The Bhagavatam, it says, for a living entity, it says, Pumsaha Kanashraya. Living entity takes shelter of the semen of a man and then enters into the womb of a mother. But in the case of Krishna, it is only explained Manasaha. Through the mind it happened. That's it. This is another difference between a living entity and the Supreme Lord. And then also growth. When Krishna has grown up, Prabhupada is saying, he looked like a 20-year-old person even he was more than 100 years old. He never grows beyond that age because he is Navayavanam. Krishna's original form is Navayavana, always a youth. There was a little girl, a daughter of my friend, and she went to daycare, another Indian family. And then they had a picture of some yogi who they call as God. And he said, that's not God. And the lady asked, why? Look at him, he's so old with wrinkles and white beard. How can he be God? God should be fresh youth, like Krishna. This was like a 3-4-year-old girl. And that's a fact. That's a fact. God is not some old man, and because he's the oldest, it doesn't mean he's old and wrinkled. He's Navayavanamcha, and that's what Krishna when he was on the planet. That's how people saw Krishna. Then one final point. Why does Krishna come? And why do we come? We come because we're forced to experience the results of our karma. We're forced to take birth. We're forced to die. But Krishna, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. Again, one of the meaning of the word Maya according to Sanskrit dictionary is Kripa, mercy. So he comes by his own mercy because we're bewildered. Who is God? How does he look like? And we speculate. So out of his causeless mercy, Krishna has appeared and he has made himself visible to all of us. Unless Krishna makes visible, no one can see him. So everybody was able to see Krishna. Out of his causeless mercy, he appeared so that they can have his darshan, so that they can understand who God is, so that we can surrender unto him. And this was the reason, out of his causeless mercy, Krishna has come. So we don't come out of causeless mercy. We don't remember anything. And our mind and intelligence and everything is made of matter at this point. And that is not avyaya atma. It's vyaya, the body, the mind, the intelligence. These are all will be destroyed at some point. And what is unborn is the spirit soul, but not the body. As of now, yes, we are also unborn, but we are identifying with our body. Our consciousness is stuck in this material body. And therefore, what we perceive we are, that's not born. And even though someone may be liberated, still he cannot have the same amount of memory that Krishna has, as somebody mentioned, because we are qualitatively one, but not quantitatively. So these are various things from this. There's one more example. Prabhupada gives the example of sunrise and sunset. Just like sun rises and sets, doesn't mean it dies. It only manifests and unmanifests. And that's what it means. Krishna appears and disappears. It's not that he's dying and taking birth like us.
And then he comes when the earth is full of sins and everything, and to rescue us from that.
Yes.
Samavami juge juge.
Yes, and that's the next verse. There's more nectar. And that nectar, I didn't want to go in there because that's tomorrow's speaker. So we have 1 minute. Any quick question or comment from anyone?
Did Queen Kunti say the same thing about Krishna, like he was the sun that arises and sets, or was she talking about the Chandan from Malaya, from the Malaya region only?
I don't remember, Sugopi. Maybe it was how the fish considers the moon, something like that. I don't remember the example of sun, but I think Uddhava uses the analogy of sun. Now the sun has set. The world is full of darkness. Now the sun of Krishna has set. The world is full of darkness. I don't know. Maybe it is there in prayers of Kunti. I don't remember.
Karna was born from sun. Kunti and son gave birth to Karna in
Yes.
Mahabharata.
Yeah. So Gopi is talking about Krishna being compared to sun, that example as used in various prayers. But otherwise what you're saying is correct about Karna being son of sun god.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Yes.
I'm not sure if my question makes sense, but as Krishna says that he comes when there is a adharma. So we see in the Kali Yuga there is the adharma, and I mean we also know from the scripture that Krishna is going to come in Kali Yuga. But is that there was more adharma in the Dwapar Yuga since the Lord appeared? Can you please enlighten?
Well, it's not necessarily like that, more or less, but for every yuga, there is a particular way of how it should be. The Lord came in Satya Yuga as well, and Kali Yuga is much worse, right? So different yugas, the Lord appears, at different times to establish the dharma for that yuga. And in Kali Yuga, it's really, really bad. However, in Kali Yuga, he came as two things. One is Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he is also continuously with us in the form of holy name, because this is so bad. Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar. In the form of holy name, he is there with us all the time, particularly in Kali Yuga. And also Srimad Bhagavatam, in the form of Bhagavatam, even though he left, he came back. Krishna Svadhamopagate Dharma Jnanadivisaha Kalau Nashtadrishamesham Puranarkodinoditaha.
The sun is there too.
Yes, Puranarka. He came in the form of the son of Bhagavata Purana. And that's one way, and also another way is Nama Rupe, in the form of holy name. So we can say there is so much adharma, but is continuously present in these two things. So therefore it is very, very important to chant the holy names and read Srimad Bhagavatam every day.
So Prabhuji, the first part of the question, I mean, somebody was asking when I was also trying to say this, I don't know if my understanding was correct. So like the adharma of that Dwapar Yuga might be the different than the Kali Yuga adharma. Is it that you were trying to say, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
and you also mentioned that other points. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Intensity, in terms of the intensities, and certain things are different for different yuga. The expectations, I would say, the expectations for a particular yuga are set in a particular manner, and Krishna will try to come and protect those. There are, for example, the sacrifice of animals is permitted in the other yugas, but in Kali Yuga, Ashwamedam Gavalambam, these are, and even Palapaitrikam, offering meat in the Shraddha ceremony, certain things are forbidden in this Kali Yuga. And so what is dharma in previous ages is not, because the proper facilities and everything, proper qualified people, they are not there. So when we talk about these things, Krishna is protecting certain things at certain time, place, circumstance. So it's not exactly in the same way, same circumstances in which Krishna comes at every time, like that.
No, thank you, Prabhu. That makes sense, and you added for the Bhagavatam and all, right? That's there.
Yeah.
Krishna is there with us.
Yeah.
We don't realize.
Yes. Okay. So if there's nothing else, we'll stop here. Thank you very much, all the devotees. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavanda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Srinivasacharya Prabhu ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a nice lesson.